Hey there, Jeremy Goodrich here, the owner of Shine Insurance Agency. And we're going to talk today about how to start an insurance agency. I started my agency from scratch in 2013 with my wife and partner, Mackenzie. We've been doing it for 10 years. We've grown our agency to over $1 million in revenue, about $5.5 million in gross written premium. So we have a nice, solid insurance agency that we grew from scratch. We did not take on any debt at any point in the process of building our agency. Our approach was to build it slowly and steadily forward without taking any big risks. So I want to talk to you about your options and how you would do such a thing yourself. So what we're going to cover is captive versus independent. That's the first big decision you need to make. What's the cost? Like, what's it going to cost me to get started? Companies, a very key piece. That's the product, right? And then finally, your business plan. So let's dig in. The first decision you have to make is, do you want to go captive or do you want to go independent? So this is your product, right? What you're selling. Anytime you start a business, you have to have a product. And in most industries, you would create suntan lotion, or you would build cars, or you would make toys, or you would sell food. There's active things that are the products that you sell. And of course, in the insurance industry, that is the same. It's a little harder to see because what you're selling is essentially a promise. An insurance company is saying, hey, if something bad happens to you, a homeowner or business owner or car owner, we will help to pay for the cost of that bad thing that happened, assuming it's set up covered in our policy, right? So that is your product. There's two ways to go about this. The first is called captive insurance. These are the folks that have the big Super Bowl commercials, State Farm, Allstate, all these different companies. They are one company. They only have they have salespeople all over the country. And so if you go to a State Farm agent, that State Farm agent works for State Farm. They only have that one company, right? So that is option number one, is become essentially an agent for a big company, a Super Bowl commercial company, and work for that company. That's option number one. Option number two is to go independent, like Shine Insurance. This is truly starting your own business. Don't let the captive companies fool you and say, hey, you're going to be your own business owner. Well, that's kind of true because they make you be independent contractors, which is really just a way to work around paying taxes and paying benefits and things of that nature. With an independent approach, you are starting your own business. Then bringing a list of companies into the fold and making them compete against each other inside of your business. So at Shine Insurance, I don't work for an insurance company. I had a conversation a few days ago with a company saying, hey, you know what? You all aren't performing. You're out of our agency. We're not going to work with you anymore. And so we are creating a competition inside of our agency of a bunch of different insurance companies. Of course, we have a relationship with those companies. We want to do well with those companies. You know, we want to have success because we want them to be happy with us and we want to be happy with them. But they don't work for us. We don't work for them. We can let them go whenever we want, and that's the benefit of being independent. So what are some of the pros of being captives? Well, it was simple. Right? If you get hired by State Farm or whomever, it's simple. It's straightforward. It's just one company. You just have to learn one system. They usually pay you something. You know, there's less to learn, right? And I think there's salary and benefits associated with that. So not only is there less to learn, but there's a safety net. Oftentimes they'll say, look, we'll give you a $30,000 a year salary, plus we'll give you commission on whatever business you write. And so that can be a lot safer. It can be a lot less work. It can be a lot easier to be a captive. So that's the option, and that's one of the pros of the captive. Again, the captive cons. Well, you know, I've already said them, I guess. You know, there's only one company. So you never know if you're truly the best option. You have limited growth. You really can't scale in the way you can on the independent side and really make big money. If you want to make big money, you can make decent money on the captive side, but you're not going to be able to blow up like you can on the independent side. And then you never know if you're actually the best option, right? So you're offering one insurance company's price and coverage, and you have no idea what other companies are out there, what their price and coverage looks like. There's nothing to compare what option you have to other people's, and that can be a con. Also, you're expendable. If someone wants to let you go, they just let you go. You've put all your eggs in one basket in some ways. And again, there's some safety and security to that. But if they let you go, they say goodbye, then you're stuck back at zero because you are expendable. So what are the pros of going independent? Well, a lot of the options, unlimited options. I can have as many companies in my portfolio as I want. And then when I have someone come in and want insurance, I can make them battle to get the business there. So unlimited option, you can insure almost anything. With a captive, they generally can't insure big, like my niche is apartment complexes and large commercial real estate. State Farm can't generally do that. Allstate can't generally do that. A lot of, farmers, American Family, they can't generally insure that kind of thing. So one of the nice things about being independent is you can insure almost anything. You truly own your own business. To me, this is the most valuable thing. I own my book of business. If I want to sell it to someone else, I can. One of the things one of the most valuable assets I have is my insurance agency. And I own that. No one can take it away from me. No one can take away my clients from me. I am the owner of that. So what are the cons? Well, the first con is it is a lot more work. Now, I've been saying this whole time, there's all these different companies, right? The work associated with one company is probably similar to what it takes to be a captive. But I've got 7 or 8 that are competing at the same time for one person's business. That can take a lot more work to make it happen and make sure that we get the best option for people. So one of the cons is definitely it's more work. There's no doubt. There's less predictable income, right? If we don't have the foundation of a salary, if we start our own independent agency, we are essentially commission only, right? It's if we either bring commission in or we die. That's the bottom line, and that's how independent is built. So you've got to understand that from the beginning. Now, there is one different way to do independent, and that is an independent franchise. And one of the most common ones is Goosehead. Goosehead is it's a glorified agent that seems like an agency owner. So Goosehead is an independent insurance agency based on the West Coast, and they have agents, but they've figured out how to articulate it that they're franchising agency. So when someone becomes a Goosehead agent, which might be a great option for you, they are essentially franchising the Goosehead name. So you pay $20,000 or $30,000 in, and then they give you access to all their companies, access to their name. Essentially, you are becoming an agent for that very large agency. But it's a nice hybrid between captive and truly going independent. So it might be an option that makes sense for you. So what are the costs going into it to start an agency? Well, if you're starting in captive, it's fairly limited, right? You're basically going to you're going to go to the company, and if the company hires you, oftentimes they give you stipends right from the start to go out there and find a building and set up rent and do all of those things. So it can be very limited on the front end when you want to start with a captive. When you want to go independent, well, you could franchise, like I said, with someone like Goosehead. That would be about $20,000 or $30,000. So that's a pretty limited expense to get in there and have access to all the companies and be able to hit the ground running right from the start. But you could pretty much do the same thing and go it alone on the independent side. In fact, I would say you don't even have to invest $20,000. I don't know that we really invested $20,000 at the beginning of Shine. I mean, we basically set up rent at the place we went to and started going. So, we probably invested $2,000 or $3,000 to start, maybe 5, 6 if you count the website and all that kind of stuff. And then we built from there, right? We were able to start really simple, no big overhead right from the beginning. But like I'll talk about in a second, you really have to find your companies, and that's important. So let's dig into that. What does it look like to get your product? Again, right? If you're an agent of any kind, you aren't the product, you're the service. You're helping people connect with the product, but you have to have the product, and that is the companies. And so, well, captive is obvious. If you get hired by State Farm, you work for State Farm, you have access to State Farm Insurance Company, and therefore you have your company. So captive is really straightforward. With independent, it's a little bit harder, and this is one of the hardest parts of starting an independent agency is figuring out how to get access to the companies. So one, you could do the franchise thing, Goosehead being the most common example. You could pay the upfront cost of becoming a franchisee of someone like Goosehead, and one of the pros is that you get access to all of their companies. Now, their companies are very standard, sort of national companies. They don't really have the best companies out there, but they have a fair slate of companies, and so you could potentially get connected with those. Another way to do it is something called an aggregator. An aggregator is someone who says, look, I will help you get access to companies, but I'm going to take a cut of the commission every single time you sell a policy. And so there's some great aggregators out there. We use aggregators for some of so we're a hybrid. When we first started Shine Insurance, we had direct contracts with some great companies. And that's the first thing we went out and do. West Bend Mutual Insurance was our first company, great company. They've taken care of us for all 10 years we've been in business, and I love them a lot. But they were the first company, and we got directly appointed with them so we could hit the ground running. At some point, we decided we wanted to add an aggregator into the mix because along with giving that aggregator a little bit of your commission, it also takes some of the pressure off from the insurance companies. If you have a direct appointment with insurance companies, they usually want a certain level of business. They say, you have to write $200,000 of business with us or whatever the number is, right? So there's pressure. With an aggregator, there's a little bit less pressure. You still have to perform. They still want to know that you're going to be a good agency to work with, but there is a little bit less pressure. So aggregators is another solution. And then the last one is simply go get those 8 companies yourself. There is nothing better than a direct appointment with a great company, getting all the commission yourself, and being able to write business directly with them. The problem is when you're first starting, most companies won't appoint you. They don't know anything about you. They don't know if you're good at what you're doing. They don't know if you're going to write quality business or not. And so you have a hard time getting appointed. But those are the way to find your companies. So the last piece of this video is really about your business plan, because no matter how you go about it, you've got to create a business plan, a clear system, a clear strategy, a clear vision. What is it going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and then work backwards? Let's talk about what parts of your business plan you need. I guess we just start with whatever you do, you have to be able to sell your plan. When you go to a captive company, when you go to an aggregator, when you go to a specific company, if you're trying to just get directly appointed, they're going to say to you, what is your business plan? How do you plan to attract business, attract quality business, attract people who truly care about their insurance and are going to take care of themselves and hopefully not have as many claims? What is your plan? You've got to start from there. And what differentiates you? These companies, these aggregators, they've all heard from hundreds of people who all say that they're going to be great at selling insurance. But you have to separate yourself. You have to tell them specifically who you are and what you do. What makes your agency interesting? You've got to figure that out from the very beginning. So let's talk about that. We've got to figure out how we can attract clients, we can attract companies, and ultimately we can attract team members. At first, you're not going to necessarily need team members. You can do this by yourself for a couple of years before you need anybody else. But these are the 3 things you have to attract in your business plan, right? How are you going to attract clients? How are you going to attract companies? And how are you going to attract team members? Well, we've got to start, there's 3 parts of every good business: marketing, sales, and delivery. We've got to have all of those things down from the beginning. So let's start with marketing. Are you going to niche or are you going to be a generalist? In other words, are you going to write any kind of insurance you can? Anything: home, auto, life, health, business, all kinds of businesses, every business on the street, whatever it is, I'll write it. That is one kind of insurance agent. Another kind of insurance agent is one who says, I focus on a specific group of people. At Shine Insurance, we have 2 niches. One is local personal insurance in Bloomington, Indiana. We are focused on this area and this area only on our personal insurance. Now, we will do home and auto insurance across the state of Indiana, but we're really focused on Bloomington, Indiana as our niche. On the business insurance side, we go much bigger, but still very focused. The The number one niche we have right now is commercial real estate. We have a national commercial real estate program for apartments, office buildings, retail, industrial, and self-storage. So that is very specific, right? We're not saying restaurants. We're not saying jumping gyms or whatever. We are saying commercial real estate, and that's what we're focusing on. And as we add more niches, we can add more niches. That's fine. We can do tech, we could do restaurant, we could do brewery. We could do lots of different things. But that's another niche with another person in it, right? That's the growth pattern that you use if you are niche based. So am I a generalist? Am I a niche based? I would say if you're going to be generalist, be all in on the town you live in. If you're going to be a generalist, then you're actually a niche specialist in the town you live in. You love that town. You know that town. You donate to nonprofit organizations in that town. You're on boards in that town. You love the sports teams in that town. You're really, really focused on the town you're in. That makes being a generalist in your town and actually a niche, right? You're niching down on your town itself. If you're gonna niche, do something that you have knowledge about. Where have you been before? What have you done before? Maybe in a past job, a past life. Maybe you really love this niche for some reason. Have passion behind it. It's going to help you sell that. Is your approach to marketing going to be inbound or outbound? Super important. Outbound marketing is what you've heard of before. This means you're constantly going out and cold reaching out to people and trying to get them to buy your product. This could be cold calling phone lists. This could be blanket direct mail campaigns. This could be email campaigns. Anything that is, hey, I want to sell you something, will you buy it? Whether that's a TV commercial or a mailing campaign, that is outbound marketing, and it's one style of marketing. The style of marketing we use at Shine Insurance is primarily inbound marketing. What we do is we use thought leadership, we use giving people value to have them in turn look at us when they're considering insurance. So my podcast, going to conferences, helping with YouTube videos like this one. I'm out there simply giving value and putting myself in the position of thought leader in the insurance world for a specific niche. In my case, it's commercial real estate for the most part, right? So I'm going out to commercial real estate investors, teaching them about commercial real estate, teaching them about risk, connecting them with each other. All of these things have nothing to do with insurance necessarily, right? But I'm putting my name out there and bringing them my direction. And so when they do decide to consider insurance, they come my way naturally. And that's called inbound marketing. When a client out there comes to you when they need something instead of you going to them. So you really have to decide, what are you going to do? Are you going to blanket the world with outbound marketing, phone calls and things like that? That's one way to do it. The downside is that your close ratio is much lower. Maybe 3% of people that you talk to are actually going to buy insurance from you. Inbound is the opposite. You're going to have a very high close ratio because someone has come to you. There's going to be much fewer people though, right? Fewer people that you engage and talk to. So that's the inbound or outbound strategy that you have to think of. When it comes to sales, for me, this is the moment someone is talking to you about potentially buying something from you, right? In an inbound strategy, they come to you and get on a fit call or whatever. How are you going to, what strategy are you going to use in that sales process? Are you going to be kind of pressury? Are you going to create scarcity? Are you going to make a feeling like if they don't make a decision right now, whatever it is you're offering is going to be lost in some way? That's one approach. There's salesy approaches and things like that. Or you could be really relaxed. When I first started with Shine, it was like, hey, if you like what you see, great. If you don't, no problem. That's a very relaxed approach. I'm just offering something and saying, hey, if you like it, great. If not, no problem. For me, I now have moved into a little bit more of a mix. If I've gone to the trouble of creating a proposal for you and doing all the work that we do to create just an awesome delivery of information in that scenario, then I'm not just going to say, hey, if you don't want it, no problem. I mean, if they truly don't want it and say they don't want it, yeah, no problem for sure. But I'm going to make sure I engage with them, check in with them. Even if they say it's not the right time, I'm going to, follow up with them. I have all these systems to make sure that I'm engaging, making someone say no to me if we've gone to that point. And I think that's a hybrid between pressure and relaxed. Finally, you have to have delivery. what you'll find as you grow your agency is the number one source of business is referrals. That could be external referrals from folks like lenders, realtors, and financial advisors, but your client referrals are going to be the best opportunities. Every time someone calls Shine and says, hey, I'd like to talk to you about some home and auto insurance, I heard about you from, and they name a client that we already have, the opportunity to close that deal is incredibly high. We close those deals at 80 or 90%, right? Only 1 out of 10 person who comes to us from a client referral doesn't end up going with us for insurance. That is incredibly high, and that's the value of client referrals. Those come from our delivery system, because every single time someone engages with us, they get a happy individual who is knowledgeable about what they're talking about, who is kind and clear and makes insurance simple, right? That's what it's all about, and that's what we're doing here. So you have to have that piece as well. All right. That is really the breakdown of how to create an insurance agency. But I know you have a ton of questions. You have to have other questions that you're thinking about as you consider creating an agency. I want you to go to the comments right now and send those questions to us. Let us answer some questions for you and help you start your insurance journey. I think that insurance is just one of the neatest things. It's similar to real estate in that you don't have to have a college degree to get started. You don't even have to have a high school degree to get started. All you have to have is passion and the willingness to be able to teach people about something that they don't really want to pay attention to, because it's about protecting them when bad things happen. And of course, we don't want to think about when bad things happen, but we do want to protect ourselves from it. So I'm really excited for you. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you go down in the comments and leave a comment about what I left out, what I didn't add, what you'd like to know more about. And if you need more information about how to start an agency, please do reach out to us. We would be happy to help. All right, until the next time, have a wonderful day.